Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in this video. And this video is going to cover Saturn retrograde for all the ascendant or the moon signs. And in today's part, we'll be covering the results from Aries moon or Aries lagna till Virgo moon or Virgo lagna. Okay. And in the next part, we'll cover the other signs. Okay. So obviously, we know that Saturn has gone retrograde, and retrograde Saturn, everyone gets scared of this word retrograde. It's not actually something to get scared of, but it's a time to, recalibrate your purpose, recalibrate your choices. Okay. If you are Aries Lagna or Aries moon sign, then you have to know that Saturn rules your 10th house, the Karma Bhava of career, actions, public image, and also the 11th house of gains, social circle, as well as desires. So Saturn becomes quite a important planet if you are Aries Lagna or Aries moon. But then this comes obviously with a twist because, your Lagna Lord is Mars. And if you look at the Graha relationships, if you look at the relationships between planets, Saturn and Mars obviously don't go along. Okay, there is a lot of tension. Why? Because Saturn is a slow and steady planet, while Mars wants to, take the lead and move ahead or charge ahead rather. So obviously there is a lot of friction between these two planets, right? Now, Saturn is going retrograde in Pisces, which is your 12th house, and 12th house represents your isolation. It represents foreign lands, spirituality, as well as your, efforts towards moksha, right? So because it's the 12th house, it also represents the end of things. So this transit of Saturn is actually a call to pause, to reflect and to retreat. Okay. And you may have been feeling burnt out. Okay. You may have been feeling burnt out. You may have been overworked, overwhelmed, overcommitted. So this is the time that Saturn is asking you to slow down, to heal. And this is also a time to recalibrate your spiritual goals because it's happening in the 12th house and reconnect with your higher self. Okay, now if you have been planning to take a trip abroad related to work, related to career, then you should go ahead. But this is also the time to engage in some kind of charitable service. Okay, because this retrogression is happening in the sign of Pisces. But then if you are doing charity, then do it without posing for the cameras, without making it public. Okay, do it in a quiet way where you are devoted and happy doing your spiritual work, right? Now, from the 12th house, Saturn is aspecting your 6th house. So you have to fix your daily routine. You have to take care of your health. And obviously, you also have to heal your work-life balance. Okay. So it's like you should not just keep on working continuously. It's also the time to rest. It's time to give time. It's a very good time to give time to your family. Okay. And if you think you need some deep healing, then obviously you should take a break. Okay. So as I said, this is a good time to go to retreats, to recharge yourself. You can also go out to travel. Long distance travels are related by the 12th house. Okay. So you may go for a good break and recharge yourself. And if you are spiritual, if you have been doing certain mantras or certain sadhanas for a long time, then you may achieve certain spiritual breakthroughs. But then, you should internalize the experience rather than sharing with someone else. Okay. So this was my assessment for Aries Lagna. And I hope that this retrograde period is deeply transformative for you. Now, coming to Taurus Lagna or Taurus Moon, Saturn is your Yoga Karaka. Remember, Saturn is a very special planet, very important planet for you. Being a Yoga Karaka, it rules the house of Dharma, it rules the house of, you know, Guru, your fortune. Okay, it also rules the 10th house of karma, career and public status, right? And again, as I said, because it's a yoga karaka, it becomes extremely important in your chart. And right now, it is retrograding in your 11th house, the house of gains, networks, friendships, as well as fulfillment of desires. Okay, so remember that Saturn is a slow moving planet, and when it goes retrograde, it slows everything down, right? Saturn is also known as Mandagati. It moves very, very slow. right? So this retrogression is actually a time for you to pause and reevaluate on your areas of focus. And what should you focus upon? You should actually focus upon realigning with your or reassessing with your social circle. Are you having friends who do not align with your growth? Are you having friends who are toxic? Are you having unproductive people in your network? Okay, so it's time to cut your relationship with those people. Okay, this is also a time to visit your long-term goals and take a realistic view of what you have achieved and what you can actually achieve in the days to come. Okay. And Saturn always wants people to change, right? So it's like, it's like becoming a bamboo. You stand strong, yet you are flexible. So Saturn wants you to let go of your rigidity, right? It's like bending with the wind without breaking, right? And remember, Saturn does not like taking shortcuts, so you should not actually take shortcuts that compromise your ethics. You have to be patient because good things obviously take time. And perseverance is the key if you are Taurus moon or Taurus lagna. And because when Saturn is retrograding in this house, it actually tests your ethics and resilience. You might get opportunities where you think you can take a shortcut to success, but remember that shortcuts will eventually cut your life short. Okay, so Saturn also looks at the fifth house from the 11th house. So this is a good time to to get initiated maybe into mantras, right? To chant mantras. Maybe you can actually follow a daily spiritual routine that will strengthen your inner clarity and bring you peace. Okay, and as I said, this is retrogression is always a period to reflect and realign, right? And for Taurus Lagna or Taurus Moon, this is a time to realign your goals, okay, and also to realign your values as well as your wisdom. Right? Now coming to Gemini Lagna or Gemini moon sign, Saturn is going retrograde in the 10th house of fame, of karma, of completing work, basically. And remember that this is not a usual retrograde. Saturn is moving at a very unusually slow pace, right? So this is a time to stop, reassess, and realign. Okay. And because Saturn is your eighth lord as well as your ninth lord, remember this has a double-edged power, because the eighth lord rules your sudden events and setbacks, and ninth lord rules your fortune as well as your dharma. So Saturn actually brings you both setbacks and blessings, right? And because Saturn is retrograding, it can actually give you struggle right now, but which these, once if you are able to come out of these struggles, these same struggles will become your strength in the future. Okay, but then you have to deeply reflect because Saturn is retrograding in your, in your 10th house, right? And so you have to rethink about the choices that you have made regarding career. Okay, and if you have been getting some new job roles which you have ignored, now maybe it is the time to revisit those job roles. Okay, and if you are in some kind of a steady career, then obviously you might find some career blocks or delays coming up, right? But then don't take these as punishments. These are simply tests to make you more patient, right? And Saturn also represents service, seva. So you have to focus on selflessly giving at your workplace rather than getting rewards for your work. So this period is for giving. Okay, and you might face a lot of office politics that might bring a lot of emotional baggage. So you have to understand how to manage your emotions, and you can do that by actually releasing old attachments. Like if someone wronged you previously, just let go of those belief, of those emotions where you are hurt, where you were hurt, where you were maybe you were humiliated by someone. So you have to let go of those old attachments. Okay, especially if you're having old attachments related to your co-workers or even a toxic work environment, this is the time to let them go. Okay, so you might find your career slowing down, but then this is just a temporary phase. It's not the time to quit your career, but in order to divert your mind, you can actually start some spiritual practice because Saturn also aspects your fourth house from the 10th house. So it's time to actually get into some kind of a spiritual routine which you can actually perform at your home. And one of the easiest ways to get over this Saturn retrograde is to declutter your space. okay, your physical space as well as your emotional space, because that can really contain a lot of karmic blockages. And if you help others in need with a bhava, with a emotion of service, with seva bhava, then Saturn retrograde is going to give you good results. Again, I have been telling this for other lagnas as well. Please stick to your ethics, because shortcuts will backfire. Okay. And as I said, Saturn retrograde is not to be feared. It is meant to be a course correction mechanism. You have to reflect, you have to serve, you have to let go, and that is how you will rise stronger as well as clearer. Okay. Now for Cancer ascendant or moon sign, Saturn is retrograding in your ninth house, which is the house of your dharma, belief systems, higher education, fortune, as well as gurus. Okay, so this period actually brings an energy that asks you to reflect inwards and realign with your higher purpose. If you are planning for a pilgrimage in this period, then this is a very good time to do it. Okay, because Saturn is your seventh and eighth lord, and as the seventh lord, it actually behaves as the maraka. But it also governs your partnerships and relationships. And as the eighth lord, it is going to deal with, it is going to bring about certain sudden changes, karmic challenges, setbacks, as well as transformation. So because Saturn is retrograding in your ninth house, so this is the time to re-examine your belief system. Okay, maybe you are holding on to some ideology which is outdated or which is too rigid, right? So this is a time to adopt flexibility in thinking as well as in your actions. And maybe you have been wanting to reconnect with your former teachers or former guides who once inspired you, right? So this is the time to reconnect with your old teachers and mentors. And if you really want guidance, then this is also a good time to start reading spiritual scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so that you get a strong spiritual anchor, right? And ninth house is also the house of long distance travels, apart from the 12th house. So you may actually consider taking a pilgrimage or a solo travel for getting better clarity as well as for healing, right? And if there are issues coming up from your past, then you have to act accordingly and act with integrity, because you might face certain legal issues or unresolved matters, right? And this is also a great time period to remedify your Mars. Why? Because Mars represents the energy of discipline, the energy of humility. So Saturn, if you are humble, if you if your life has been too fast paced, please slow down and also practice the habit of doing seva without expecting anything, right? And Saturn is aspecting your third house. So this means that you should be really, really careful in starting off new projects or new ventures or starting off with new work. Okay. So, slow and steady wins the race is the formula here. The more patient you are, the greater is going to be your ability to win. Okay. Now, coming to Leo ascendant or Leo moon, you know, this retrograde is happening in the eighth house, and this is the house of transformation, fears, mental health, chronic issues, joint finances. Okay, so Saturn rules your sixth house, which represents your debts, illnesses, and competition, as well as your seventh house of relationships and partnerships. Okay, and remember, Saturn is very harsh on Cancer and Leo because it shares a tense relationship with the Lagna Lord, the Sun. Right. So Saturn actually feels at home in the eighth house because this is the domain of Saturn. So it actually means that, while you might be tested, you will also be protected. Okay. So focus on healing your mental traumas, focus on healing your emotional wounds, because the eighth house is psychological. This transit may bring up some old traumas, fears, as well as emotional vulnerabilities. Okay. So the best thing to do is to ask for help or guidance. Remember, healing is your own power. Okay. And this is also a period to transform in silence by reevaluating partnerships as well as shared finances. And if you're having to do any financial dealings, please be very mindful and please be very honest and transparent in all your financial dealings. Okay. So you must be very careful in matters of speech, in matters of food, because Saturn is casting an aspect on the second house, So you have to watch your words, you have to watch what you are eating, and you also have to watch your family dynamics. Okay. And remember, this is not a time for chaos just because Saturn is transiting the 8th house. It is a time for transformation by reflecting within, Okay. So if you are getting some urge to change something, don't resist it, but rather go with the change. Okay. Now, coming to Virgo ascendant or Virgo moon sign, remember, Saturn is actually retrograding in the 7th house of relationships at an unusually slow pace. Okay. So Saturn is your 5th lord, which represents your future as well as past life karma, mantras, as well as creativity, and also the 6th lord of obstacles and delays, deaths and enemies. So, in a way, Saturn is actually ruling your Purva Punya, which is represented by the 5th house, as well as the future manifestation. Okay, so because it is retrograding in the 7th house, you and your partnerships, your contracts, your agreements, and marriages all will be under some kind of a challenge, because Saturn here actually gains directional strength or Digbala. Okay, so this is going to be a very testing time where you are actually reassessing your relationships by thinking deeply. Okay, but when you think deeply, don't go into this pattern of overthinking where you are actually having more unresolved issues than you can handle. Okay, so it is time to have very honest conversations with your friends and family. I made a video. The last video was on the most critical year of your relationships. So have a very honest conversation with your friends and family. If you have any relationship issues, try to resolve it with maturity, humiliation, and don't, if you are in a relationship and things are going tough, then don't make any kind of impulsive exits. Okay. And this is also a period to heal, an opportunity rather to heal old karmic patterns. Okay. So if you are having those past, karmic patterns troubling you, then do not resist it, but rather face those patterns, heal them, and if needed, finally close the chapter. Okay. Now, if you are a Virgo ascendant, you might be getting set up for some legal or contractual challenges. Okay, because the 7th house also rules agreements, right? So if since Saturn is retrograding in the 7th house, so this can actually bring delays or some kind of rework in whatever you do. Okay, so one of the ways to be careful is to check double check documents before signing, to avoid things which are hasty by nature, right? And this is not the time to chase relationships which do not have any depth, which do not have any, which do not have any basis. Okay. Instead, what you can do is you can actually seek depth in your own relationships and try to align with the soul of your partner, even if it's a physical, even if it's a personal partner or a professional partner. And Saturn always wants you to build discipline, so this is a time to build discipline in your daily life by cutting down lethargy, by building some kind of consistency in your routine, as well as by bringing some structure into your lifestyle, right? So the moment you start disciplining yourself, then you will realize that your life has become stable and you are slowly elevating. Okay, and if you don't do this, then obviously you will face unnecessary delays and more inner frustration, right? So this was my assessment of Saturn retrograde for Aries moon sign till Virgo moon sign. In my next video, I'll be covering the remaining signs. Please subscribe to the channel if you feel this video has made some amount of impact in your life. And I'll see you soon in my next video. Namaste. Om Gurave Namah.